Hi everyone, I'm Daisy Rocha and this is what's happening in Brazil. We start by updating you on the latest news from the country. President Lula was in Europe, where he attended an opening ceremony of the International Labour Organization (ILO), the G7 meeting, and visited the Pope in Rome. During the ILO meeting, focusing on social justice in Switzerland, Lula said that taxing the super-rich could finance the energy transition, especially in developing countries. He also proposed the creation of an artificial intelligence tool for the Global South as an alternative to the current tools which are controlled by the big techs. Criticism of the Speaker of Chamber, Arthur Lira, emerged after a urgent vote on the bill that equates abortion with homicide. The bill is dubbed child pregnancy because it affects mainly child rape victims who discover the pregnancy late. After huge protests, the vote is now postponed to the next semester. If approved, will make our law one of the most conservative in the world and would harm more than 1 million women. The bill adds articles to the penal code to make the penalties for simple homicide the same as those for abortions carried out after 22 weeks of gestation, even in cases where the practice is legally allowed by Brazil's legislation. Last week, the Speaker put the matter on the agenda without informing the federal deputies in a move that was seen as a nod to radical evangelical representatives. During the last weekend, demonstrators across Brazil have gathered to protest against the child pregnancy bill. The proposal has sparked controversy due to its implications for pregnant girls. The protests highlight concerns about children's rights and access to education and health. Human rights and social groups are mobilizing efforts to fight the bill. This week, the Federal Supreme Court began the trial of 5 men suspected of the involvement in the murders of Rio de Janeiro councilwoman Marielle Franco and her driver Anderson Silva in March 2018. The court unanimously decided to accept the complaint against the accused Domingos Brazão, an advisor to Rio de Janeiro Court of Auditors, Federal Deputy Chiquinho Brazão, Robson Calixto Fonseca, an advisor to Domingos Brazão, Ronald Paulo de Alves Pereira, a military police officer, and Rivaldo Barbosa, a police delegate, make them defendants in the case. Access to legal abortion has been hampered in the city of São Paulo after it was banned at Vila Nova Cachoeirinha Hospital. The procedure is guaranteed when there is a risk to the mother's life in case of rape and an anencephalic fetus. The World Health Organization recommended for legal abortion over 22 weeks. Activists have denounced the persecution of health workers who carry out the procedure. Watch now on the story of the week.
Women who suffered sexual abuse are facing difficulties in accessing legal abortion in São Paulo. Since December 2023, the city has banned fetal asystole procedures for pregnancies over 22 weeks at the Vila Nova Cachoeirinha Hospital. The hospital used to be a reference in the treatment of these cases.
We've been following the situation. As soon as the service was closed, we asked the São Paulo City Hall, and we got very evasive answers for the second letter we sent. We wondered where the women who were being cared for at Cachoeirinha were going, and they didn't know. They didn't give us any quantitative data.
In the wake of the suspension of abortion procedures at the Cachoeirinha Hospital, Brazil's Council of Medicine issued an ordinance prohibiting the procedure for pregnancies over 22 weeks. The resolution allowed administrative and disciplinary proceedings to be set up against doctors, which, according to activists, led to persecution by the São Paulo State Regional Council of Medicine, known in Portuguese as CREMESP, against 2 health professionals who performed the procedure. At the end of May, Minister Alexandre de Moraes suspended the measure, but the scenario of difficulties faced by those who need to have abortions continues. According to the public defender, the other hospitals mentioned are also not carrying out the procedure, and she also claims that one victim was denied the procedure at the women's hospital.
A gente recebe uma moça.
We got a girl before the resolution. She goes to the State Women's Hospital. The hospital has an internal protocol that only allows interruptions for up to 20 weeks gestation. Is it legal? No, it's not legal, but that's how they work. This girl is told that the women's hospital won't help her. What should the hospital do? Send her to another hospital. What does that service do? Go to the public defender's office. But what's its address? I don't know, get by on your own. This woman left the hospital alone, wandering around downtown São Paulo. She's from the countryside, until she found a public defender's office that she wasn't even supposed to go to. And after I don't know how many hours, she arrived at Nudem. This woman comes to me at 24 weeks gestation, and we send her to Campo Limpo because we have a class action lawsuit saying that other hospitals have to take care of advanced pregnancies. They refuse to make the procedure she needs, and then comes to resolution from the Federal Council of Medicine.
After the resolution, another woman was prevented from having the abortion procedure at the women's hospital when she was 22 weeks pregnant. In addition to the difficulties service users cope with, CREMESP accessed the medical records of patients at Vila Nova Cachoeirinha Hospital.
So, both the behavior of the Federal Council of Medicine and that of the CREMESP are unconstitutional. They don't take into account the Brazilian Penal Code, which says there is no gestational limit to carry out the abortion procedure in cases of sexual violence. They also don't take into account medical confidentiality. They don't take into account that patients have the right to medical confidentiality. So councils representing doctors in Brazil and São Paulo are committing a series of violations.
In today's Culture Talk, you will learn about the Rural Film School, a project launched in April 2024 aimed to give rural populations and settlers in the state of Pará autonomy to produce movies, recover the memories of their struggle, and strengthen agrarian reform.
Images are a fundamental element in building social movements, memory, struggle, and resistance. For many years, the stories were only told by third parties, even if they were partners. But more and more, social and people's movements have been using images and professionalizing the field. With this in mind, young people from the Landless Workers Movement, who are part of the Center for Training, Production, and Arts of the Amazon, known as Conduru in Portuguese, created the Rural Film School project to qualify audiovisual training for land reform campers and settlers.
This class aims to train more than 20 youths from rural areas and various social movements in the audiovisual language. This training course is very important to us. Through the Paulo Gustavo Law, it has reached the heart of rural areas. We will soon have new filmmakers and producers, with the new films being exhibited in places denied to us, but now accessed through cultural public policies.
The school, divided into 5 modules, should be completed by the end of 2024. It began during the Osiel Alves Landless Youth Pedagogical Camp, which takes place every year at Curva do S in honor of the martyrs of the Eldorado do Carajás massacre. Filmmaker Julia Mariano has attended the event for about 10 years and was one of the facilitators.
The idea is for the school to be a place of learning and exchange, but above all, of instrumentalization for the young people from social movements so that they can record and produce their own films, be they fiction films or documentary films.
For most students, that's their first contact with professional cameras and the whole world of script writing, filming, and editing. The project is open to anyone involved in agrarian reform, regardless of whether or not they work in communications. The idea is to open the doors for exchanging knowledge, experiences, and perspectives.
For me, the experience was quite strong because in the first practice of the workshop, we interviewed a victim of Eldorado do Carajás, something that stirred my affective memory and the little I knew about this massacre.
It is nice to know that people see what we do and appreciate our work. I feel flattered by that. I started in 2022 more prone to photography. I wanted to work with it. In this short time, it is lovely to know that my work as a photographer and videographer has been valued, and the people have seen this and called me to this film school.
Did you like the show? So hit the like button and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications. We will see you next week.